Okay, so, like, picture this, right? You're out there, maybe trekking through a rainforest, camera in hand, trying to capture the life of some hidden tribe.
Right.
Or maybe you're in a bustling city capturing, like, the energy of a protest.
Yeah, yeah.
We've all seen those amazing images, right?
Absolutely.
But what does it really take to go from just, like, admiring breathtaking photos to actually building a career out of photography? You shared RoleCatcher's photographer
Hmm.
as a complete career guide with us.
Right.
So let's use that as a starting point for our deep dive today.
Yeah, for sure. What I found really interesting about this guide is it doesn't like sugarcoat things, you know?
Okay.
It acknowledges that there's this romanticized view of photography,
Right.
but then it pulls back the curtain and shows you just how much depth there is to it
Yeah.
and all the different skills involved,
Yeah.
especially like the blend of creativity and technical expertise.
Totally. It's more than just having a good eye, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The guide talks about lighting, composition, digital editing. It's almost like learning a whole new language.
It really is.
Mm.
And that's just the artistic side. This guide really stresses how important it is for photographers to have good business sense. Like you need to think about pricing models, marketing yourself, building a brand,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so much more than just, snapping pictures.
You know what? I never even thought about how photographers set their prices.
Right.
Do they charge by the hour? Is it per project? What does that look like?
Well, there's no one right answer.
Hmm.
It depends on, the type of photography, who the client is, what they're going to use the pictures for. It can be pretty complex.
Wow.
And that's another reason why this guide is so helpful. It breaks all that down in a way that anyone can understand,
Yeah.
especially someone who's just starting out.
That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like there are tons of different paths you can take within photography.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What really stood out to you about the different specializations outlined in the guide?
That's a good question. It was interesting to me how the guide categorized everything, not just by subject matter, but also by the skills you need for each one.
Oh, great.
So, for example, like with wildlife photography, you obviously need patience and to understand how animals behave.
Right.
But then you also need to be really good with your equipment, like telephoto lenses and stuff,
Yeah.
and sometimes even wilderness survival skills, depending on what you're doing.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing how different the demands are across different types of photography.
For sure. And the guide touched upon how technology plays a huge role now.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
Even in fields that have been around forever, like wildlife photography. It mentioned drones and 360 cameras.
Right.
How have those tools changed what photographers need to know?
Well, they've totally changed the game for certain niches.
Okay.
Like, take real estate photography, for example.
Mm-hmm.
These days, people almost expect to see aerial shots from drones.
Yeah, that's true.
And in journalism, you see a lot more of that immersive storytelling,
Yeah.
using 360-degree panoramas.
Oh, yeah.
So photographers have to know how to use all this new equipment
Yeah.
and even how to fix it when it breaks.
Right, right.
It adds this whole other layer to the job.
It's not your grandfather's darkroom anymore, is it?
No, not at all.
There's so much to keep up with.
Exactly.
Did the guide talk about the challenges of staying on top of all these new developments?
Absolutely. Continuous learning is a huge theme throughout the entire guide.
Okay.
It stresses how important it is to stay updated on software, new techniques, and even emerging technologies.
Yeah.
It even suggests going to workshops and networking with other photographers to share knowledge and stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
It's really important.
So it's not just about being good at the technical stuff, but also being adaptable and
Right.
knowing what's trending in the industry.
For sure.
It really makes you realize there's this whole business side to photography
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
that most people don't even think about.
Yeah, it's essential. And that can be like a whole other challenge in itself, right?
Totally. It's easy to get caught up in the creative side of things.
Yeah,
But if you want to make a living, you have to treat it like a business.
absolutely.
And that's where resources like RoleCatcher come in,
Right.
which you shared with us as well.
Yeah.
It's not just your average job board, is it?
No, not at all.
I was checking out their platform, and it seems way more proactive.
Right.
Like, you don't just upload your resume and hope for the best.
Right.
They actually help photographers tailor their applications.
Yeah.
Could you, walk us through that a bit? What does that look like?
Sure. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
So RoleCatcher uses AI to analyze job descriptions.
Okay.
But it's not just looking for keywords or anything like that.
Okay.
It actually figures out the specific skills employers are looking for
Oh, wow.
and then helps photographers highlight the experience that's most relevant.
So, give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you're a photographer who's done a lot of work for, like, a local magazine, right?
Yeah.
RoleCatcher's AI might pick up on that and then help you connect it to, say, a corporate photography job.
Okay.
It might realize that, hey, working for a magazine means you know how to meet deadlines under pressure.
Oh, I see.
And that's a valuable skill in any photography job, really, but especially in a corporate setting.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like having like the secret decoder ring
Yeah,
that helps you understand what employers really want, even if they don't come right out and say it in the job description.
exactly. It's all about making those connections between a photographer's experience and the jobs that are out there,
Right.
even if they're in different niches. And this actually ties back to what we were talking about earlier
Right.
with the photographer. Career stages section of the guide.
Yeah, absolutely. That section did a really good job of breaking down what a typical career path might look like for a photographer. What I thought was really cool was how they used those real life examples, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
It wasn't just a dry list of like job titles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
They actually had these mini stories about photographers at different points in their careers.
Yeah, they did a good job of showing how a photography career can, grow and change over time.
Totally. Like, I remember they had one about a junior photographer,
Right.
and it talked about how that's usually the stage where you go from assisting to actually shooting on your own.
Right, right.
And then when you move up to a mid-level photographer,
Yeah.
it becomes more about managing clients, handling budgets,
Right.
maybe even mentoring junior team members.
Exactly. And that's what I like about this guide. It shows that there's not just one way to have a career in photography.
Right.
There are so many different paths you can take.
It's almost like those profiles highlight all these hidden skills that photographers need.
Yeah.
It's not just about being good with a camera. It's also about communication, project management, leadership.
Absolutely.
Did the guide give any advice on how photographers can develop those kinds of skills?
It did. It really stressed how important networking is.
Okay.
Going to industry events, joining professional organizations, things like that.
Right.
Like the ASMP,
The what? Sorry.
the American Society of Media Photographers, or ASMP.
Okay, yeah.
That's a really good resource for photographers.
Yeah.
And honestly, just building relationships with other photographers,
Yeah.
it's not only inspiring,
Right.
but it also gives you a chance to learn from people who've been there.
Makes sense. Networking can lead to collaborations, mentorships,
Oh, yeah,
which can be super valuable when you're first starting out.
absolutely.
The guide also talked about how important it is to have a strong portfolio.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's your calling card, your
Yeah.
visual resume. It has to show off your absolute best work,
Right.
but it also needs to reflect your style. What makes you unique as a photographer? A wildlife photographer's portfolio is going to look very different from, say, a fashion photographer's portfolio.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's like you're curating your brand.
Yeah.
You're not just selling the pictures themselves, you're selling like your whole vision,
Right.
your style.
Yeah.
And that's where understanding the business side of things is so important.
Oh, for sure.
Like you were saying earlier.
It all ties together.
Right.
Even little things like contracts,
Yeah.
usage rights,
Yeah.
how to market yourself on social media. The guide goes into all of that.
Wow.
It's a lot to handle.
It is.
But that's the difference between, doing photography for fun
Yeah.
and doing it professionally. Well, the first thing is, I would say, figure out your niche.
Okay. Yeah.
What kind of photography really speaks to you?
Right.
Once you know that, take a good, hard look at your skills.
Okay.
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you good at?
Yeah.
What do you need to work on?
Right.
Once you have a handle on that,
Mhm.
you can start building a portfolio that really showcases your strengths.
Right.
And then you can use something like RoleCatcher to actually get it in front of the right people.
Okay. That makes sense.
So strategy is key.
Yeah.
Don't just wait for things to come to you.
Right.
You have to go after what you want.
Be proactive.
Exactly.
Got it.
And the other thing is never stop learning. Okay?
Okay.
The world of photography is always changing.
Right. Yeah.
So stay curious,
Okay.
try new things,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to experiment with your style as you go.
I like that. So find your passion, hone your skills, and don't be afraid to like put yourself out there.
Exactly.
I love it.
That's the name of the game.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah.
I've learned so much.
Me too.
Thanks for walking us through like all the ins and outs of building a photography career.
Of course.
We covered everything from, technical skills and specializations
Yeah, for
to
sure.
all the business stuff you need to know to be successful.
Absolutely.
It's inspiring to know that anyone with a passion for photography
Right.
and, of course, the drive to make it happen
Yeah,
can actually make a career out of it.
totally. Yeah. Sky's the limit.
I love it. Well, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
And listeners, be sure to check back in with us for more deep dives exploring exciting career paths from every angle. Until next time.